Hi guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Is anyone able to get the meeting link? அது மட்டும் குரூப்ல போட்டுடலாமா? Okay, we'll wait for another maybe 5 minutes. Correct, 5 we will start.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, Amma.
Okay. Great. Meeting காமிச்சிடலாமா?
Meeting link காமிச்சிட்டேன்.
காமிச்சிங்களா? இதுலயா? ஓகே ஓகே.
ஒரு 5 நிமிஷம் வெயிட் பண்ணிட்டு 5 ஆரம்பிச்சிருவாங்க.
ஷூர் ஷூர். ஒரு 15 பேராச்சும் வரட்டும் ஒரு ஆளுக்கு.
அவ்வளோ பேர் வருவாங்களான்னு தெரியலையே.
என்ன ஏற்கனவே ஓகே நம்ம 2 பேரை விட்டா 4 பேர் இருக்காங்க. சரி ஓகே 10 பேர் வந்து ஆரம்பிச்சிடலாம்.
ஓகே அம்மா.
Done.
ஆனா 10 பேர் வந்துட்டாங்க ஆரம்பிச்சிடலாமா?
ஆரம்பிச்சிடலாம்.
ஓகே.
யா ஸோ
சரி. Hi everyone. This is the melting point series for tomorrow's English NSEM examination. Myself, Angelin, and Anto will be taking like the comprehension parts of it. So essentially all the written essays and all the things which need a particular format to score marks. I'll be covering all that. And then Srijai will be taking care of all the grammar parts. So yeah, I'll start off with the comprehension. So I think you all can see this. Very simply, our very first comprehension would be, as a composition would be the comprehension parts of things. So for comprehension, I'm sure all of us have already, we know the essential form. So again, we'll just go through basic stuff. So usually for comprehension, I would recommend going through the questions first, so that when you go over like the actual paragraphs, you'll know what to look for. And then while you're reading it, just skim through it. Don't read the entire sentence. Look at like keywords and points. As for questions, apparently we should answer strategically. So first, the factual questions, anything which you just need to copy paste. So if you see any percentage or like a particular name, one fancy name, just look for that particular keyword in your main paragraph and just answer it. And then vocabulary, you'll be asked to answer stuff like synonyms or antonyms. Synonym is meaning antonyms opposites, which is also something you can do. If in case you do not know the word, if the word seems a bit too complex, which they will definitely do somehow, they'll like put some from keyword which we can't understand. So in that case, you can just pick it up from context clues. That's why it's so nice in comprehension. So you just read that, you find that word in the paragraph and read the context. With that itself, you will be able to find out like what the word is. And then in sequencing questions, you might be asked, so like at this time, this happened, and then later on, this happened. It is pretty rare because then it'll be like a 2 mark, but it does happen. So just make sure to keep the flow correctly. And then referencing it, you might be asked to say stuff like, okay, this person said this happened during this time. So you need to reference. So you'll be given like a secondary keyword and you need to find the primary keyword. So that is generally what the comprehension would have. Uh, I would say keep this for the end, or keep it for the start. So if you want like quick marks, then you can answer comprehension. But if you feel that you can answer it really quickly, but you still want time for like the other compositions, then I would recommend doing this at the end. Now, sometimes you'll be asked to get like descriptive answers. So instead of MCQs, you'll be given, okay, talk about this. Some people, like some people, mainly say me, but you will like start writing like a proper question answer and try not to make it exceed 3 lines. They're not going to read anything beyond 3 lines. So maximum keep it to 3 lines. If they ask for a certain number of points, then keep it to that. Keep it very short, very clear. And then sometimes if it feels like you're just writing whatever's given in the passage, don't worry. You don't have to paraphrase it or anything. If it seems like you're just copying the sentences, that's fine. Like they won't check it too much. So that is all we have for comprehension. Any doubts here? Anything you guys want to clarify? I'm assuming that's all. So next we have note making. Note making generally, the main things you have to look out for is you should always have a main heading, like the main heading of the entire thing. And then each para you will kind of divide it into sections, subsections. And for each of those sections, you will need to give a subheading as well. And then the points, as you've seen before, you need to number it in a way that it's like 1, and then 2 and 3. And then within that point, if you have like subpoints, it should be 1.1, 1.2. You all pretty much know that. It's very important to use abbreviations. So try to use between 5 to 10 abbreviations. Sometimes it is a hassle. Don't go more than 10. That's way too much. Between 5 and 10 is like a good amount. Symbols is also good. So if it's like percentage or and, you can use those. It's very important not to use full sentences. They tend to look at that quite a bit. So just keep it a bit broken, not like in a way that it's ununderstandable, like you can't understand it. But yeah, try not write full sentences. And then again, you should have headings, subheadings, and numbered lists. You don't have to do highlighting. Like at least for IoTs, you don't have to. I'm not sure what other faculty said. If they did mention that you have to highlight, make sure to do that. And then in the end, after writing each of your subsections, you need to have a you have to have a subtitle called abbreviations or key. And then for each of the abbreviations you use, you need to write their entire word or meaning. And it's like even for stuff like AI, let's say you use AI, AI is considered an abbreviation, so you have to write that as well. And then after all this, it's very, very important to write a something called summary. And then from your notes, don't after that, don't refer to your main text. Refer to your notes, and for 100 words, you don't have to use paragraphs or anything. For 100 words, write one quick summary. Try not to don't use abbreviations there. Okay. So that is generally what your note making would look like. Any doubts here? Any doubts, anyone? Just a
Doubts.
thumbs up would do. Okay. So next we have something called accident report. So this is generally what an accident report would look like. Before we go into that, let me just explain it. So essentially, there will be a problem or like an accident that happens or a really traumatic event of sorts, which you as like a third person, you would have seen it or you would have witnessed it, and you need to complain to some higher official. So here the given accident was something to do with the men's hostel. So yeah, some fire accident in the men's hospital. So the first thing you need to do is have a cover letter of sorts. It's not called a cover letter, but it's like that. So you need to have a basic two, and then dear sir, and then ideally you can insert a subject here. So if you remember to do that, that won't reduce marks, but uh, try to insert a subject here. And then a very brief understanding of the situation and how you have enclosed the report. So this line is important. You should always mention that you have enclosed the report. And yeah, and then you can yours sincerely. Oh, that's another thing. So in these exams, try not to use, unless a name is mentioned in the question, don't use your real name. Just use that name or something like XYZ, ABC. Even for organizations, if a name is not mentioned, use ABC school, ABC college, just stuff like that. And then, yeah, so your report should ideally usually have four sections. One would be the cause of the accident. So keep this as descriptive as possible. You shouldn't add, so this should just be what the accident was and what caused the accident. You shouldn't go beyond that. So you would talk about the timing, what happened, when happened, who were affected. These are usually what come under cause of the accident and the accident. Try to keep this as detailed as possible, but depending on how limited the given information is, you can add a few lines, but do not make it like outrageous or don't like talk about anything which happened after. In your next section, you will have something called steps taken after the accident. So here you will talk about how the accident ended and what was done after. So you can see here two mess workers. They were serving food. They rushed to the kitchen and put out the fire. So that's like a very basic thing. And then you would talk about how what happened to those who were like in the scene, who were affected, who were not affected, and like if anyone was taken to a hospital or if anyone was like given some treatment, you would also mention that. And then you can also mention very briefly about something which happened in a bit distant future. So other mess workers arrived at the scene room. Later on, one of them called to report the accident. You can add this if you want. And this is important, especially if in the question they haven't mentioned if you are at the scene. So yeah. And then next would be consequence of the action. So what happened after it? Like steps taken after is like immediately after, but we're talking about maybe like a week or like an overall scheme of things. This you should write in points. So you can talk about, so here since it was a fire accident, the names of the people who were involved and what happened to them and how they were treated. You can talk about all the people who are affected, and then see here it says like a week's worth of provisions. So that's like an overall effect rather than an immediate effect, which you would talk about steps taken after the accident. So an overall scheme of what happened, right? So that is what you need to talk about in consequences. And then finally, you would talk about recommendations. So all this has happened. What will I do to make sure that this won't happen again? Or what I suggest you should, what I suggest the steps you should take so that these things won't happen. That's essentially what you talk about here. So if you see here, like periodic checks in the fire extinguishers, rewiring, ban on flammable objects, sparing the use of candles, etc., etc. So this is like your accident report essentially. So make sure that all these are covered. So once again, what happened, like what the accident was and what caused it, what were the immediate steps taken after, what were the overall consequences, and finally, what are the recommended steps I, as a person, like whoever's writing this. So here I'm like the deputy warden, right? So what I, the deputy warden, or whoever you are in the situation, would recommend this person to do to prevent a situation like this in the future. So this is generally what an accident report does look like and what you should write. Each of these sections, keep it between 100 and 150 words. That should be more than enough. This, either way, I think this is like what, 70 words probably, or 50 words. But yeah, between not more than 125, 150, definitely not more than that. If you want, depending on your handwriting, you can fit like two of these sections in one page or something. But then again, if the information you've given is less, you can write less. I don't think it matters. But yeah, any questions for accident report? No questions now, just like put up some thumbs up so that I can move on. Yeah, just to confirm, you guys can see the screen, right? Okay, okay. Next, what do we have? We have interpretation of charts and graphs next. So this is essentially data interpretation. So this is like a big thing, but essentially you'll either be asked like descriptive questions or MCQs, or maybe even to like write a small paragraph. But before that, as soon as you see a graph, some things you should like take care of this. You should make sure you can identify what the graph is. So think about what this graph is telling me. So this particular graph is telling me about the gender imbalance, and it talks about which has the highest and lowest ratios at birth. So these are the different places, and this is the number and stuff like that. So generally, as soon as you look at a graph or whatever data interpretation method you're given, you should know what it tells me. What are the parameters? So parameters as in the X and Y. So this is the number of people, sorry, number of cyber frauds, and this is the years. Similarly, here it's the states, and here is the cities. Like that, you should know what the data is actually telling you. And then after that, you can draw any conclusions you deserve. So sometimes you have given like an overall comparison. Then you should talk about, okay, so if you take this for example, you talk about how it's lesser in Bihar, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, more here. You can talk about how there's a sharp spike, especially between Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra and all the other states, stuff like that. Uh, Try to draw as much as conclusions as you want. Sometimes you can not make up as in like make it like infactual, nothing like that. But in the sense, okay, I can talk about depending on the context, you can add like certain things. So assuming this is language graph, I can say, oh, since these two states, let's assume this is Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Okay, so since these two states are in the south, which is more Dravidian focused, they would have more Tamil speakers than the other states. So it's stuff like that. Factual evidence you can bring in depending on your situation given to you, especially with the graph. And then what are the questions you get from this? So either you can have like a complete descriptive, or you'll be asked to compare one state with the others. Or sometimes if it's like in the years, they'll give you like a time frame. So in this time frame, what happened? In this time frame, what happened? What changed in this year? So this will also mostly be very descriptive in the sense that you have some freedom on how to answer this. You don't have a set format, but yeah, try to infer as much as you can from the graph. Ideally, yeah, so if you want tips, identify the type of the graph. If it's bar chart, then it compares quantities across categories. Histograms is the distribution with continuous data. Scatter points is very similar to these. Don't worry about all that. Don't worry about the technical names. Just identify, okay, what is this graph telling me? This is telling me in these months, this air quality was good. Here, they were bad. That's all you need to know, essentially. After that, it's all the inferences you draw. Any doubts here? Yeah, so as I said, there's no like specific format for these. But yeah, anyone, any doubts? I'm assuming I can move on. Next, we have process description. So process description is also so essentially you'll be given like certain steps like this. Not this, that's a bad example. You'll be maybe given a couple of steps like this. Okay, so there's a technical activity, knowledge, processing, and then goods, or something like this. So you have the drilling and then processing, production, storage, transportation. Like this, you'll be given bullet points and maybe a diagram of all the steps involved in a process. Your job is to describe these steps actually, step by step, in the correct chronological order and make it as detailed as possible. So if you look here, I'm sure all of us know this cycle. So essentially, in English, you'll be asked to describe the entire process in like, I don't know, maybe 200 to 300 words, I'm not sure. But yeah, try to don't, if it's something like this is something we know. So here you can add extra information, but here it's very vague, or maybe even this is very vague. So when you don't know certain nuances about the particular production, like what are the steps in this, try not to go into too much detail, keep it as general as possible. But usually, based on the question we were given in midsem, it was pretty detailed. So essentially, this one you're not gonna have too much thinking. Essentially, you're gonna make the entire thing look prettier in a more descriptive form. So here as well, you don't have any major steps. Maybe you can title the process if you're given like a title name, and then you can maybe have one small introductory para about, okay, this process does this. So that will be maybe 2 lines at most. So you're essentially telling the people or like telling the teacher, okay, this is what I understood from this process. So this is what, so here I can talk about, okay, this process talks about the water's life cycle, like how, yeah, I think that's more than enough, how the water moves from one state to another. That should be your introductory para. And then you should go step by step. So first, since this is cyclic, you can start anywhere. I would say start at the lake, so you can talk about as much as you can in this process, or you can talk if this is the picture or process given to you. I would talk as much as I can about this first step, and then I would move on to cleaning, beating, paper making, etc. Sometimes you will be given cases where a particular step splits into two. There is no example here, but let's assume that there is another um, arrow mark here and then a set of processes. So this is also possible. So then you need to talk. There'll be like a decision that happens here, right? This will be given to you. Most definitely, it will be given to you. So you need to talk about a bit into detail about this decision, and then you can split it off into two paragraphs. Try to keep it chronologically accurate. Though. So if you go, so if this is the decision point, you would let's say this is the para for that, and you're going to start with this sequence first. Talk about all of that and then you go to this sequence. So let's say there was a step after this, finish that as well before you go to this. Because if you finish this, then go to this and then go back to this, that's too messy and they will deduct marks for that. So beyond that, you don't have any major formatting for this either. Any doubts for this one? Okay, yeah, no doubts. Then what is this? Process description. If you want to refer this. Define the process. As I said, you need to give like a very simple Outline steps, you don't have to necessarily do that. Just talk about it in each para. Use active voice. Again, generally try not to use words like we, me, I, stuff like that. But yeah, active voice is good for this, but I don't think that is a particular rule. Visual aids, yeah. So for this one, they might ask you to make a flowchart. So this happens when they give you the process in bullet points. So they might ask for a visual aid. In one of the faculty's PPTs, they had mentioned that. So if it is requested, try to draw like a very simple flowchart. You don't have to make it pretty. Just like a box, the step name, and the arrow mark. That's more than enough. Keep it concise but detailed. Yeah. As I said, essentially you are making the entire bullet points prettier and more fluffed up. So each step maybe 50 words at most, like at least 5 lines or four, depending on how detailed the thing is. If they give you like 10 points for the entire process, then you can make it really short. It's up to you. But if they give you something simple like the examples we saw, then try to make it a bit detailed. But yeah, that's all with this one. Next, we have checklists. Before that, let's look at letter to editor. Because I'm going in order. So letter to editor, again, it's like stuff we have already covered. Pretty simple. So you'll have the to, and then the editor, and then you would talk about what newspaper it is, and if they give you location, then that. And then just write it's your simple formal letter, so the date and then who you are from, and then write dear editor or respected madam or sir. Subject, very simply, like if it's something like you show waterlogging, that, or if there was noise pollution, air pollution, anything like that, very briefly what your subject is. And then you can start off like, okay, I'm writing this letter to draw your attention to this. And then you can talk about, so this would kind of follow a very loose understanding of the accident report. In the sense, you would write what is the problem, what are the causes of the problem, and this is the steps I would recommend you take. So here you can talk about what is the problem, what causes the problem, what are the consequences, what are the immediate consequences. So if it's like something like water pollution, you can talk about how it's not aesthetically great, how I don't know, something like people get sick often. And then you can talk about long-term problems. It can, so what is pollution, right? So it can cause the soil to erode, blah, blah, blah. Essentially, short-term and long-term problems, and then my solutions. So in the end, you should end it like, I hope that the column of, I hope that you can make like an article in your esteemed paper and magazine. So that's how you should end it because you are writing a letter to the editor. And then you can finish it off. Regards, your sincerely, your name. That's very basic letter to the editor, stuff we have already done already. And then similarly, you would also have um, a letter of complaint. So a letter of complaint would also kind of follow the same. So here you would have the person who changed those. So if it's like a big complaint, and then go to like, I don't know, chief minister, or municipal officer, or chairman, mayors of this corporation, something like that. Date. So that is the two others, and then you'll have your date. Date mentioned right like okay, this is the 17th May 2026 in words, like as in 17THMAY 2026. Don't write it in the normal date format we write in our books. Yeah, and then from then respected sir or madam subject, what the problem is, like what your complaint is, what are the problems caused by it, what are the future problems that we can look into it, and then what are the solutions I offer. That is what the complaint, letter of complaint would look like. Very similar to letter to the editor. Some things will change, like the person you're writing it to, and then the initial two lines for dear editor, okay, I want you to look into your paper. That particular lines you'll remove, but overall it is pretty similar. Yeah, I think that's all we have for letter to editor as well. And then we have article writing. Now, what is article writing? Very simple, very similar to an essay as well. So the only difference here is you'll have a title. Always remember, article you have to have a title. Your first para will be like an introduction. So what I'm talking about in the following article. very briefly what are the topics I'm touching on. So talk about that. Very brief introductory para, and then your body, and then remember to have a brief conclusion as well. So with this, I conclude blah 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 blah. So that is what your article will look like. I'll repeat. You will have a heading. Heading is very important, title, and then you will have an introductory para, your body, and the concluding para. If they ask you to mention your name, you can use like ABC or something, but mostly for article, it's not necessary. So that is article writing. So we talked about letter to the editor, letter of complaint, and article writing. Any doubts in these three? Okay, then I will move on. Next we have checklist. So checklist is what I'm sharing here. So checklist essentially the questions can be formed in any way, but first we look at what a checklist is. So essentially you will have a task and then whether you've done it or not, or a question, and if it's yes or no, that's what a checklist would look like. So the task is are the lights switched off or switching off the lights, and then yes or no. So the questions, this is pretty self-explanatory. Now you can have subdivisions like this. So here the interview file ready with the following documents. In the interview file, you should have an advertisement, an application, call letter, or have you practiced for the questions in the interview, and then it can be like who you are, where you're from, what is your inspiration, stuff like that. So you can have sub tasks as well, but your yes and no would stay the same. So it's either a tick or an X. This is pretty self-explanatory, I think. We have all done this at some time. Now, how will the questions be formed is they'll simply ask you something like this. Make a checklist for attending a job interview. So then you have full freedom to define all of these. Try to keep at least 10. That is the general numbering they have kept. So if it's something like this, if you add like sub questions, then you can keep it quite short, like 8 is a good amount. But if it's just like simple like this, 12 to 15 is also a good amount. Keep these simple. These tasks shouldn't be too descriptive. A singular sentence. You shouldn't have multiple sentences in these. So a singular sentence looking at whatever the task is, right? So this is a checklist. And then maybe sometimes you can also be given like a process. They might compare the, I mean, connect the two. So they'll ask, describe the entire process, make a checklist for it. So that can also happen. This is pretty self-explanatory, but any doubts with checklists? For checklists as well, maybe having, yeah, they haven't mentioned it explicitly, but in all of the examples, they do add a title. So by default, maybe adding a title for everything is the best way to go. But yeah, any doubts here? Okay. Now, immediately after checklists, we have something called recommendations. So the main difference between a recommendation and checklist is this. So recommendation, write 5 to 6. So write some recommendations for reducing food waste. So let's say, okay, so I will make small proportions according to how much I eat, or I will pre-plan my food, or I will not buy too much food in bulk and maybe let it rot. Stuff like that is recommendations. Immediately after you make these recommendations, you would compare them and make them a checklist. So what did I say? I will make food in small proportions. So your checklist will look like, did I make my small proportion food? So did I make my breakfast? Did I make my lunch? Did I make my dinner? Those can be sub checklists. And then I won't buy food, not perishable food in bulk. Like that, maybe you can convert that to a checklist. So these two work hand in hand. Recommendations are more like statements, and checklists are, oh, have you done it? Yes or no. So, usually in all the questions they've given in the sample papers, these have come together. So, again, these don't have, you can maybe make a topic, okay, recommendation to reduce food, checklist to make sure not, you have not reduced food, maybe something like that. But yeah, any doubts between recommendation and checklist? Just remember, recommendations are full sentences And checklists are you're checking them if you've done it or not. Pretty intuitive. But any doubts here? Okay, then we can move on. So after this, we have something called comparing and contrasting. So comparing and contrasting, very simply put, the word compare, you will look at similarities, and contrast, you will look at differences. I know, like, compare, usually we talk about this and that, but in this context, we're talking about similarities and differences. So, and but coordinators. So, and for comparing and but for contrasting. So, honestly, you don't have to look at this. This answer it in your flow. You don't need to know this. So, you have certain words to compare stuff. So, those would be key comparing and contrasting words. So if you use these words, so usually the questions, I'll talk about the questions first and then we look at this. So the questions, for example, one we saw in our question paper is compare and contrast your current generation versus the next coming generation, the current generation and the previous generation. Or compare and contrast pens and pencils. I don't know, something like that. So when you talk about this, you should ideally have two paragraphs, one comparing, one contrasting. Or if they mention it very, very explicitly, that you should do it like compare and contrast, like here and there. So first you compare, immediately in that same context you contrast, then you compare again, contrast again. Usually that will not be asked. You will be asked to make one para comparing and one para contrasting. So one main thing you can do is if you don't want to write too much, is make sure you have these words. So you can even underline them if you want to, if you remember and if you can underline them, you get like instant marks. So for comparing, as I said, you need to look at similarities, right? So also as well as both comparatively in the same way in addition to this two. This two is um like the comparing to, not the deal. But yeah, as same as similarly most important, like just as. So if you use these words or something similar to these words and underline them in the comparing paragraph, you're done essentially. I don't even think she'll read into it like her. Yeah. And then for contrasting, as I said, we're looking at differences. So although this happened, although on this side this happened, and then besides but compared with conversely. Conversely means opposite essentially. Oh, all the way down. Okay. And then differs. So this differs from this. Even though this looks like this will look like this. Furthermore is a bit neutral, but yeah, depending on your context, you can change it. However, in contrast to instant, less than, notwithstanding, on the other hand, otherwise, rather than, you don't need to use too many fancy words. Like if you don't feel like it, keep the sentence very rough, very intuitive, like whatever you are talking, like how would how you would simply compare something. And then certain words would be inserted, right, between two sentences or two conditions, especially when you're comparing this and that. Those you just underline and you should be good to go. Just in case, should be pretty understanding as soon as you read the para, but just in case, write paragraph comparing and then write your paragraph contrasting and write your paragraph. But yeah, this depending on how much context you're given, you can keep each para maybe 100 words. I don't know. It depends on the question. But any doubts here between so this before that, while Shruti ma'am and Nivedita ma'am didn't say anything, Cherry Matthews sir said that you might need to use Venn diagrams. So if it's explicitly mentioned, use some pictorial comparison, then use a Venn diagram like this. So all your comparison, like all your contrast would go in the separate Venn diagrams and then compare would come in the middle, right? Because this is similarity and this is differences. So just keep that in mind. So for example, if you look here, hostler and day scholar, here you'll have hostler, day scholar. Both go to college. One lives in college, one lives at home. That's very simply what it will look like. Any doubts with comparators? Anyone? Okay, then I will move on. So we have finished that. Next we have minutes of the meeting. Now, minutes of the meeting as well. It differs between two faculty. This is what Shruti ma'am gave, which is essentially a very brief description. But I would recommend following this one. This one is a more set um, formatting, so it's much easier for us as well. And there's nothing wrong in this, so you will get marks for this as well. This was given by Nivedita ma'am, just for reference. So introduction. Select the right participants. All this is yapping. Yeah. Now, before we start this, this is our general format. So the first thing you would do is write the date and the start time. Your date and start time should be very important. Maybe give a heading like this is the meeting talking about this is this, and then minutes. Date is this, started at this, okay? And then you would talk about, so generally this would be for a major event. You won't be given, so let's say a lecturer. So you would say, okay, Professor this, gave it, or you can give their name and then their occupation, gave an introduction, and then this person facilitated the entire event. This person talked for a while about this is this. They gave the vote of thanks, they gave the speech, prayer, whatever. And then this person gave a detailed project report or something like that. And then you should talk about how the participants think in the middle as well. And then if you add something like, okay, this person proposed this idea. So if this is like a normal meeting, this person proposed this person countered saying this, or like the other members of the meeting said, the other members of the meeting had like generally agreed with this person or generally disagreed with this person. You can mention stuff like that. So essentially, down to the minute, without actually talking about like verbatim what these people said, you will essentially talk about the pulse of the entire meeting. That's what the minutes of the meeting talks about. So here, if you see here, Satyan, Director of Finance. So each person, if you name drop, if it's given in the context and if you name drop, then you need to talk about who they are each time. They gave a detailed costing finance team led by XYZ. So see how the names one mentioned. So this is given. But given in the presentation, they declared an open house, stuff like that. So this depends on what type of meeting you have. And then in the end, so like at the start, you mentioned the date and meeting time, introduction. You would have conclusion. So the meeting concluded. And then maybe like whatever happened after. And then what is the future decision, very roughly. So if you see here, the report will be given on this is this. So yeah, that's generally what it would look like. This is also pretty variable depending on what question is given by the faculty. But just remember this, you shouldn't have full sentences. You don't need connectivity between the two. But this is generally what it should look like. And then if you are given information, so see how they said that the ATR will be submitted later. If you are given information about the future and how the ATR was submitted, you can add like a secondary minutes of the meeting for that, but in like a future tense. But yeah, so in this report, you can talk about this. Ah, in the end of the minutes of the meeting, you should have this. This is very important. Undersigned. So the undersigned essentially tells them who was the person who talked about all, like who was the person who noted down all these, which is you. Like depending on the question, you can write ABC or like the name you're given, and what is your occupation. So this is what you should do. This is all that will be there. After this, like your notes making, you should make a very brief summary of around 100 words. Again, don't look into your question after you write this brief thing. Just refer this and write your summary. Now, another thing which they might ask us to add is something called an tabular agenda, which is essentially a tabular form of whatever we did. So you can talk about the time down to the minute, because this is minutes of the meeting. What was the topic discussed? Who are the people who attended it? So if it's like just the same people, you can write audience, or other meeting board members, something like that. And then the speaker, whoever talked about this topic, and for how long they talked. This might be asked. Just remember, time, topic, speaker, attendees, and duration. And then if they ask it like a pretty form, you can talk about this meeting information objective. They won't ask this mostly. You don't have to worry about this. Just keep this in mind though. This tabular agenda. I understand that this is a bit more vague, but I think it should be fine. Just remember the date, time, and then in the end, undersign and your occupation. And then you can, if they ask, you can have this tablet column. Any doubts here? So I'll move on then. Next, what do we have? We have resume. Yes. Now, I would say this is the most important part of our exam paper because this they will definitely scrutinize a lot. So, preparing a resume, I'm sure everyone knows what a resume is at this point. So usually the resumes, these questions will come with two parts. One is a cover letter and one is the actual resume. So a cover letter is very similar to that accident report letter. So essentially is giving a letter saying, okay, I've enclosed this. So I am so and so. I'm applying for this. I've enclosed my resume with this letter. Take me into consideration. That's essentially what the cover letter would have. So one second. Yeah. So the cover letter would have subject, or before that you will have two. This will be an informal. This will be a formal letter. Yes. So you'll have two, whatever director and what their organization is from, and then the date again in words. So you'll have 170 HMAY 2026 whatever, and then you'll have from respected ma'am or sir, and then subject. So subject is essentially applying for so and so, and then you'll have. Okay, so these can be interchanged. Like salutation is the respect and manners. So you can either have this before the subject or after, both work. Introduce yourself, very important. So I am this person, ABC or whatever question you're given. I am this person from here, and I'm looking to or yeah, I'm so and so from this organization or this school or this university, and I'm looking to apply to whatever position you're given. And then you need to talk about where you heard the call. So this is information for the so while this information isn't related to your resume, this is related to their information gathering of sorts. So you'll talk about where you heard the advertisement. So okay, I saw this advertisement in the park. I got an email. I got an online address. I saw this on Instagram, something like that. I don't know why you should be considered for the position. So you can say something very generic, like, okay, as in the resume I have mentioned that I have this. Very brief, by the way. Don't make this detailed. And then I am hardworking team players. Some nice five, six words about yourself. And then why you should be. This is why I think I would be optimal for the position. More than that, if you want a more polished letter, you can talk about. Okay, I have worked in this project, or I have worked in this department before, so I have experience. So this position would offer me these skills, and that is something I'm looking to build upon. So something that you can mention, keep it very brief though. About yourself. Yeah. So these two would be about yourself is what I said, like five, six words good about yourself. I'm very hardworking, honest, diligent, blah blah blah. And then conclusion. So below I have attached so kindly take my resume into consideration. Below I've attached the resume. I've enclosed the resume with this letter. Thank you for your time and patience, something like that. And then yours sincerely, your name, and then sign it. So this is generally what your cover letter will look like, a very basic formal letter. Just remember, an important thing would be within this letter, I have enclosed my resume. That is an important thing you should add at the end. And then what a resume will look like. So some important points to look at in your resume is it should be in reverse chronological order, which means your latest qualification. So I went to college and school, right? So I would first mention SMU Chennai University, and then I would mention school. So reverse chronological means reverse time order. So your most recent achievement or your recent qualification. If I went to a job first, or if I'm in a job now, I would say, like I would list them as 2026, this job, 2024, this job. So it will be reverse chronological order. And you would talk about, so you won't have it in words. You will have it in like a uniform tabular format. So you won't talk, you won't have any sentences like, oh, in 2026, I took this job. Rather than that, you will have 2026 hyphen this job. I'll show you some examples. But, and then relevant points highlighted. That isn't necessary. So, how to start the resume? You would first talk about the name and contact details. So, you have your name, maybe age, or whatever information is needed, contact phone number, alternative phone number, organization phone number, email, stuff like that. And then educational qualifications. So as I said, first you mention college, and then or whatever your thing is. If they're given that you're a chartered accountant, you will make up some degree. So in ABC College, I got my CA. And then in CDF school, I finished my 12th with this percentage in this rank, something like that. So usually these look like table column like this. You'll have your year, the qualification here, the college, and the year you studied from when to when, and then what your rank or percentile was, which depending on when it's applicable, you would answer that. And then achievements. So if you worked on any project, and if the question suggests that you have this medal of excellence, you have this medal of this, you have done this much community service. If they mention something like that, you would list them, not descriptive, list them out in your achievement section. And then extracurricular activities. So sometimes this is like for teachers. So then you need to mention that you're multilingual. I can speak this language. I can paint, I can draw, depending on what would seem appealing. So that is a good extracurricular activity and soft skills. So speaking multiple language will also come under soft skills. But yeah, most of these two will mostly merge. I would, so if you're in a time crunch, focus on these though. So this is generally what resume would look like. Now, general features, chronological. Like as I said, it should be reverse chronological order. Abbreviated. You don't so if it's something like a bachelor in computer science technology, you can just write BTech. That's understandable. Contact information. You should have name, address, phone number, and email. Education. Majors, degrees, dates, course, title, dissertation. So if you are currently in some educational institution, in that date section, you would say like expected graduation time, if it's like depending on the situation. And honors and award, as I said, any certificates of excellence or any NSS, YRC, I don't know, something you have, you list them out. Teaching experience, yeah. So this is important if they call you for like a tutoring job or like a professor job, something like that. You need to ideally mention or make up something called teaching experience. If you're asking for a research grant, then for research experience. And if you're asking for something to train someone in the summer, you should talk about professional stuff. So yeah, just pick up what they want in the question. So if it's like you're applying to a college now, according to that, something which looks nice for them, you make up some experience. This is yeah, this is fine. We talked about all of this. References. So this is also an important section which you might be asked to add at the end. So references is essentially like I am legit, you can call this person and ask them. So it's essentially a recommendation. So here you can give like your colleagues. So if I worked in XYZ company, you can give the reference of your XYZ boss, like your XYZ um, department director or something. So essentially someone who would vouch for you. So you need to write their name, their contact information, and who they were to you. So that's what should be there in references. So again, this depends on whatever experience you type out. Tips, you don't need to know this for now. Irrelevant personal information. So stuff like, okay, I was divorced, or maybe marriage could be important if they ask for marital status or something. But besides that, no irrelevant personal information. Um, Avoid creating busy looking document. So try not to clutter it. This is for generally a resume writing tips. You don't have to follow this for a composition. Yeah, this is all done. But yeah, any doubts here? So I'll just repeat though. Cover letter. It's a very general formal letter. But in your body, at the end, you need to say, within this letter, I've inserted my resume. And then in your resume, you should first have your personal information, which is your name, date of birth, address, contact information, and like email, whatever. And then you need to talk about your educational qualifications, and that you will have reverse chronological order, by the way. So what degree it was, where it was, from which date to which date. If you don't have, if you haven't completed it yet, expected to graduate on something like that. And then depending, so if it's like 10th or 12th, you can write, okay, this is my percentage there, this is my percentage there. So that will be your education qualifications tablet column. And then you would talk about the experiences. Again, tailor this according to the question that was given. Talk about your soft skills. Talk about, yeah, soft skills generally talks about your extracurricular activities as well. And then in the end, have references. So references should be according to your experience. Uh, Try to have like some, oh no, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So according to your experience, write your reference. Any doubts here? Sorry, that was a bit lengthy, but any doubts? Okay. Then we are near the end. Essay. Now, essay writing, I'm sure we all know already. Just paragraph wise. Usually, the generally formed system is you have like a nice introductory para, like one or two to three paras, nicely broken down even paras of their actual body, and then a concluding para. Essays usually don't have a topic or title, but just to be on the safe side, I would recommend writing off topic. Actually, for everything, just to be on the safe side, write a topic simply for the hell of it. They won't reduce marks or anything. You don't need to write author for essay, but that's generally it. Very generic essay, like your article. Now, a very niche thing that they might do is, which was mentioned by one of the faculty, is a debate or an argumentative essay, which was given by Cherry Matthews. So in this one, you would have like a particular topic. So either write to or for mobile phones, or write to or for, I don't know, building during working times or something like that. I don't know. So you're given like a set point, and then you'll be asked to write an essay to or for against it. So argumentative means against, but yeah, it is persuasive in nature to convince a specific point of view. So essentially, you should support your claim. It is beyond simply informing and analyzing. So you would like see the situation, right? And then you should convince them. So you should use logic, reasoning, and then blah blah blah. You understand how a debate works. So make it clear and a debatable thesis statement. So this one simply means your introductory para to talk about what position you are supporting. This is generally what is the general form of a debate. First, you'll give an introduction, what your current stance is, and then after that is when you will structure all your um, combative sentences, right? So the first one should be a thesis statement, which is essentially talking about what you are supporting, and then strong evidence. First, list out all the facts and all the statistics and all the opinions that you know. Factual knowledge first. And then, with this, once you've informed the people of all the information, is when you would draw conclusions. This is a very important system, especially if they mention that you're doing a debate or so. But yeah, these are like some general questions you might get. So, social media, because it's very generic. Cancel culture, which is a new one, which essentially is like, oh, if you say certain things, you'll be cancelled. It's a very relevant topic, I would say. Widespread adoption of open source software is also very general. But yeah, you guys can follow this for maybe some topics. Maybe you can prepare a couple of points if you feel that you're not confident with it. But yeah. This is generally what your debating essay would look like. Essay, as I said, very normal, very general. For debating essay, you will follow like a small general guideline that would be first talk about your position, talk about all the facts and data involved, don't make up anything, and then draw inferences. So that's what the essay would look like, and a conclusion. So as I talked about, this is why I support this. So that is what that would look like. But yeah, I guess we are done. Any doubts in this one? Okay. Then I guess we are done with the comprehension composition side of English exam tomorrow. Any doubts overall? Is there any topic you guys want me to go over again, or any topic you think I missed out on? Okay. Uh, yeah, then thank you for listening. Now, Srijai Anna will take the grammar part of it. Uh, Anna, will you screenshot?
Okay. Uh, Hello guys, Srijai here. Firstly, am I audible now? I mean,
Yes, Anna.
is it?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Okay. So guys, firstly, I'm a bit sick, so the voice I won't be having ability to speak as well as I could. So please bear with me. And then secondly, uh, as far as grammar part is concerned, it's gonna be a interactive session. So I have a lot of examples for you because obviously it's not like you guys don't know grammar. No formal, only the formal stuff needs to be taught to you. As far as grammar is concerned, it's just more exercise more than anything, right? So I want you guys to be interactive now. Um, and yeah, you can first take a basic look at what and all are present as far as one concept is concerned. I'll just brush through it, and then we'll solve a lot of examples. And this part of the session will be as long as you want. I seriously don't have much content to discuss in this. I'll say a few tips and I'll say how to tackle this, and you can solve as many examples as you like. Um, and we will end the session right now. Okay. So first, I will share my screen. One second. Yeah, yeah, guys. It's the screen visible. The
Yes,
screen
Anna.
visible, guys. Yeah, right. Okay. And am
Yes,
I,
yes, yes.
you know, okay. And firstly, I'm making sense, right? Is there anything like, is my voice muffled or anything like that? It's fine, right?
Yes, Anna, it's fine.
It's fine, right? Yeah. Okay. So the format, the portions which require format stuff was beautifully explained by your batchmate and my junior. And so as of now, we have verbal analogies, active and passive voice, if conditionals, embedded clause, reported speech. See, yeah, that's it. What else is there? Yeah, that's it. So this we'll be following an order. I mean, I'll be starting with the one which I think will take more time, which I think will take more number of questions to practice, and then slowly you can just finish it off, right? So yeah, mm, firstly, we'll be starting with active and passive voice. So for these slides, I mean, for these contents, I'll be using 50 ma'am's slide. So if the people who are from other classes feel like there are some things from your slides which could be more useful and which could add to the point, please to let me know. We can discuss about that as well. And if I happen to miss out anything, or if you feel like I could explain something better, please to let me know. So yeah, okay, let's start. So yeah, active and passive. So uh, basically, when you consider into the basic essence of this grammar concept, basically what active and passive voice does is in active. in a sentence, everything is about driver of the sentence, right? There will be one particular entity which gives the meaning to the entire sentence, right? So to better explain that, we give it off into two. I mean, we split the drivers. I mean, we can split the types into two. One is subject, another one is object, right? So depending on where your concerned phrase, I mean, your concerned word is in the sentence, we can figure out which entity becomes the driver, right? Okay, I know I'm making it confusing, but like, wait, let me explain. Okay, so let's take pronouns in this. Okay, no, actually, I'll explain it by an example. Okay, so let's see. Let's take this first example, right? So he reads the book. In active sentences, uh, usually the thing with the phrase or the part or the word which drives the content in the sentence becomes the subject. So in this should be the subject. She. She is the entity which drives the sentence which drives the action forward. What is the action in this? Reading is the action here, and which obviously becomes the object in this case. Okay. So this is active. So what passive does is basically just flips the entire thing, in which the entity which drives the sentence instead becomes the thing which is driven. It is made to be felt in that way. Okay. So if you see the same thing here in passive, the book is read by her. So because it means the same thing, but it feels as if driver, I mean, the driver of the sentence becomes the one driven. So that's what active to passive voice conversion is all about. Okay. And passive to active is obviously the opposite. So if you don't care about all these complex stuff, just understand that we just have to convert these things to these things, or these things to these things, as far as pronouns is concerned, and then this to this or this to this, as far as tenses are concerned. And we are done with the exercises, right? So that's what it's all about. Yeah. So this can be okay. So let's look at the pronouns. Okay. I mean, this pretty self-explanatory. This table. Okay. Wait. Um, yeah. So I mean, we just convert the entities which are in subject form to the object form when it comes to active to passive. Okay. So I becomes me, we becomes us, you doesn't change everything. You doesn't change as well, and they becomes them. Okay. So that's as far as the pronouns are concerned. And next, when it comes to tenses, when it is simple present, when the active statement has simple present in it, action in it, we add an is or am or are to it. And if it has a simple past action in it, we add an was or were to it in the passive form. And when it is in future tense, we add a will or shall be. And when it is all those stuff. I think so. This will be much more better explained if we go through the examples right now. So yeah, and we can see here. Okay, if we discuss the first example, it is a form of present simple active sentence, right? Obviously, reads anything with an s becomes simple present, right? So when there is a present simple in active voice, in passive voice, we add an is before that. Okay, so yeah, and that is as far as present simple is concerned, and after that present continuous. Nothing changes. They're just using present tense with an ing added to it. And then what we do, we add is being or are being written by them. Now, one thing in this, we can see that they here in active voice, it says that they are writing the report, whereas in passive voice, it says the report is. You know, this signifies the change in the subject and the object, which we have to be careful. This looks like when we read it, when we read another someone else statements like this, it might seem very intuitive, but these are the things which will confuse us at the exam hall. So be careful. Here, uh, the main driver of the sentence is they. So we complement they. So that's why it's an R. It's a plural form. Whereas in the passive voice, the main driver of the sentence is the report, which is the singular stuff, right? So that's why we complement it with this. So be careful with it when solving examples in the exam. These are the stuff which will look very easy, but will trick you. Okay. The next present perfect. Present perfect. You have an as slash slash in it. So what we do is that we just put an has been before the whatever the verb we have there. Okay, so that's it. And then past simple. Again, we just it has an ed. We add an was or where to the before it. And then past continuous. They were was ing, and then again see. Here, they is the main driver of sentence, which is plural. So we write an whereas in the passive, the house is the driver of this sentence. So we put an was there. Okay. So next, past perfect. He had finished the project. The project had been finished by you. So basically, what we do, we uh, perfect in any sense as an HAS, HAV, or add with it. So perfect as these. Okay. So what we do, we just add the same stuff on the, we just retain the same stuff in the passive voice. Okay. And add an bin with it. Has been, have been. I mean, in this past perfect case, we add bin. We just had a bin there. Okay. So that's it. And then future simple. Future simple, again, this is where it gets, no, this is, you need to remember this. Okay. So in future simple, for the future simple, you just add and will to it, right? So in that, what I mean, when you need to convert it to the passive voice, uh, you should be very careful that we need to add be and convert the actual verb into a past verb. Okay. So in this case, it's an they will announce the results tomorrow. Changes to the results will be announced by them tomorrow. So we need to be careful about this. Okay, so this is what happens in future simple. Don't get confused. Yes, I'm all okay. So future continues. Still be delivering same with the future stuff. Okay, we convert this into past, the main verb into the past when it comes to future. So yeah, what else to say? Yeah, she'll be delivering the speech at 10 a.m. The speech will be being delivered by her at 10 a.m. And then future perfect, and then the same. They will have completed a work by them, and then past will have been completed. We just had a been to it, and then yeah, models just get retained, and then can get converted to past. And I mean the verb gets converted to past in passive voice, right? So like she can solve a problem becomes the problem can be solved by her. We retain the model verb and add a be to it. Hmm. So yeah. Mm, what else to say here? Yeah, and nothing else as far as I know. Just be careful of future stuff when solving examples, and yeah, just read the sentence, find out the main driver of the sentence, and then shift it. You know, in the passive voice. So yeah, that's as far as active and passive voice is concerned. So any doubts here? Um, I guess. I mean, I think so. You guys would have solved these stuff. So I don't want to. You guys want me to go through this? I have a separate set of questions, small questions. Shall we solve them? I mean, shall we solve my questions, or do you guys feel the need to go through your PDF? Your wish. சொல்லுங்கப்பா.
எது வேணாலும் ஓகே தான் நினைக்கிறேன் நான்.
Yeah. சரி, ஓகே. அப்பனா, okay. I think so. You guys will have answered for these because you would have already solved it in class. So I guess we can go for The questions I have. Okay. Don't worry, we're not, I have 25 questions with me. We need not solve everything. I mean, we are not solving everything. Okay, so, 25, 25, 50 I have. Don't worry, we'll solve like 10, 15 and I will leave you guys. Okay. But please, I want the class to be interactive. First of all, it's not a class. Sorry. It's a rehearsal session. And I'm interacting with my juniors. Please, I want it to be a bit more interactive. Yeah. So, mm, okay, guys. Are you guys able to see the question? Okay. Um, guys, army drama. First question. Okay. I assume that happened. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So first question. I'll like guide you guys on the first few questions, and then please, I want at least one or two guys to guys or girls to please answer. Okay. So yeah. First question: the teacher explains the lesson. So here it's a simple present, right? So what we do? What we do actually? So we and here the subject is the teacher and object is the lesson. So we just switch it over. So you just say the lesson is explained by the teacher. Please excuse my wonderful handwriting. But yeah, it is there a way to reduce the thickness. Be very happy. Okay, done. Next, yeah, she is baking cake. It is a present continuous. So we just change it to uh, she as she said. Here the subject is she and the object is cake. So you just switch it over. I mean, swap it out, right? So we say a cake and we add a bin here. Bin, I'm sorry, I mean, is being here. The cake is being baked by her. Okay. So yeah. So as far as this exercise is concerned, uh, I think you guys can see how the algorithm for this goes. Right. You look at the sentence. Let's now just take some random question. Let's take six. Okay. Look through the question. They will announce the winners tomorrow. You find out the subject of the no. You first find out the verb or the adverb of the question. So what is that here? Will announce. Will is the the thing which you are supposed to say, and announce is the verb here. Okay, and then figure out the subject and object of the sentence. Here the subject is they, the object is winners. Okay, tomorrow is just some pretty like sort of fellow, auxiliary fellow. Okay, we can take care of that. Somehow we can fit tomorrow in. Okay, so yeah. So what you do is uh, figure out the subject, object, adverb, and the verb, and just swap this here, swap this here, and accordingly, you based on the swapping, you figure out what to do with these adverbs and verbs. Okay. So in this case, what can be the answer? So we start with the winners. The winners, we need to sorry. We saw that when the subject is in they, in the object, it becomes them. Okay, wait, yeah, see. Yeah, see when it in the an active is they, first it becomes them, right? So yeah, the winners. Okay, yeah. So we have the winners and we have them here. What you do, you fill out the rest of the stuff. The winners, what makes obvious sense here? Using will announce, will be announced. No, that makes obvious sense here, right? So we put will. be announced. As simple as that. இடம் பத்தல. Okay. The winners will be announced by you. Yeah, sorry. We also need to add the by as well because obviously it doesn't make sense or else, right? And yeah, what else? And tomorrow. And tomorrow we just add somewhere at the end. Okay. So yeah, this is how we change active voice to passive voice. Okay. Are you guys fine with this? Is there anything bothering you here? Okay. 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 So now let's just go through one or two questions here. Okay. Found out, have you guys been told that there'll be passive to active conversion as well? Or is it only active to passive? Hello. 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 Hi. Am I audible? Hello. Okay. Hey, சொல்லுங்கப்பா. Have you guys been told that there'll be only active to passive, or is there any possibility for passive to active as well?
I think கேட்பாங்க தான் அண்ணா.
Or what?
ரெண்டுமே கேட்பாங்க. ஆக்டிவ் டு பாசிவ் அண்ட் பாசிவ் டு ஆக்டிவ்.
சரி, okay. Okay. Okay, we'll see one or two examples here and we'll move on to passive to active voice. Yeah, answer பண்ணுங்கப்பா. Yes. So let's try out 14th question, shall we? Yeah, please someone. Let's figure this question out together. I know it is not that much of a deal, but yeah, tomorrow I will look through one or two questions together and we'll move on to the next concept. Your fantasy. Mm, Normative. Okay. Yeah, wait, is my screen visible?
எஸ் அண்ணா.
Okay, okay. Ready, Papa. I tell 14 question, please. So the question is the company will launch a new product, right? So what is the verb here? Please put
லான்ச்.
one more. Yeah, exactly. So launch will be the verb there, and adverb will be the will. Okay. So obviously then you can figure it the rest of the stuff out. So company becomes subject and the product becomes the object. So what we do, we just swap this here. Yeah, yeah. We swap this here and we swap this here. Yeah, that's it. We swap the two here and we figure the rest of the stuff out. And what what do we need to do here? Right. A new product. Okay. We write that here by subject and subject would be the company. So subject becomes your object here. So dash 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 company. Okay. That's it. Okay. Uh, so we'll we need to change the will launch to the context of the passive voice. So what will happen? For example, gets converted to passive.
Will be launched.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. 1 second. We use this ID. Yeah, will be launched. And we add a by to complete, to make sense, to make the sentence have sense. Okay. Yeah, super. And just one more question. Um, yeah, 24. Okay. So they will complete the project soon. Sure. First, let's figure out the verb and the adverb. So what's the verb here, guys? Okay.
Complete.
Yeah, super. Will complete will be the verb and they will be the adverb. Right. So obviously, what will become the subject here?
They.
Super. They becomes the subject here and the project becomes the object. So you just swap the two things. The project dash dash dash. They becomes them. Okay. So we change the adverb and verb according to the context here. Okay. So what will we put? Uh, will complete. Future simple becomes what do we do? We add a B in middle and we make it to past year, right? So what we do? The project will be completed. Yeah, will be completed. So what? Yeah, does it make sense? We need to add an extra word by for it to make sense, right? So that's it. That's as far as the this thing. What is this active to passive is concerned. Why am I not able to access the? Uh, 1 second. Ah, laptop. Okay, guys. So this active to passive voice conversion, fine. I know this may sound childish going through it, but trust me, this may not sound much now, but all these things will actually confuse you in the exam. All okay, so just be sure. Uh, then yeah, we can just take a look at one or two passive to active voice, and we can move on to the next concept. Okay, so let's take something else. Yeah, okay, let's take 36. Again, passive to active is a bit more tricky than active to passive. Because in active to passive, you know what will be happen, like what to say. Uh, you just make sure it sounds a bit more formal as far as passive is concerned. But in this, I know it's basically a bit more trickier. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so but no issues. It's not tough and all. Yeah. Let's take this. The 36. The documents will be signed by the manager. Okay. So here, what will be the verb and the adverb here? We do the same algorithm here. No changes. What will be the word and the verb and the adverb there?
Signed.
Yeah, will be signed. Verb, adverb. And then here the subject is documents and the object is manager. Okay. So what we do? What do? We just swap the subject and the object here. So this goes here, Chitapa, and this goes here, Chitapa. Okay. So here we get the manager. Uh, what is dot 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 dash dash dash. Uh, what was it? Documents. Documents. That's it. Okay. So will be signed there. We have to change it into active. Okay. So what is it? It is in future. Uh, it's in future simple. I mean, okay. As far as passive is concerned. So what we do? What do we do? We make sure it sounds like future simple in the Anto voice. Okay. So will be sign becomes will sign. See, in active to passive, we would have added an be here and make sign to signed. Where we just do here, we just do the opposite. You know, we take off the be and the convert the sign into the present tense sign. Okay, so it becomes will sign here. Okay. Um, okay. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we'll sign the documents. Okay. Um, what else? Just one more question. We'll move on to the next concept. Next step. The decision was made by the committee. Okay. Decision was made by the committee. I'll finish it off. Okay. Just listen to it. Verb will be made and adverb will be was. Decision will be subject. Committee will be the object. So we just change it. Uh, Ichika. Okay. So the committee, what's it? Dash 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 the decision. Now we mess around and somehow fill out the middle and we are done. Okay. So was made. See what's there in this. Um, was made. This is a form of simple present. See, simple past. Okay. So what we do, we just remove the was here and we are done. So that it becomes the committee made the decision. It's as simple as that. Okay. So yeah, I can send these questions over. I know it sounds very childish discussing for it. So I'll send you guys these questions. You can look through it when you have time. Okay. So any questions in active to passive voice, doubts, respond பண்ணீங்க
No.
பா. Yeah, okay, super. Great. So that's that. Next, reported speech. Reported speech. What's there in this? So basically, uh, direct speech is something you write it out, write it down. Direct speech is something you do directly on writing a book. Okay. So when you say Nega said I will be feeling happy today, when I say it verbatim, it makes no sense, right? But when you write it within these, all these quotes and stuff, yeah, within these quotes and stuff, it makes sense. Okay. So direct speech is the default way to express a speech or a conversation in written form, right? So what we do, we just add I mean, comma. It's okay. Okay, let's say we need to add a comma. We need to add the comma, and then just put the double quotation marks and write whatever the other person said. I mean, that's direct speech. Okay, reported speech is when we are talking to a third person about the fact that the first person said you this. Okay. Uh, it's your interpretation of what that person has said. Okay. And this is how we usually talk. This is not more. I mean, of course, it's also used in writing. I mean, used while writing, but this is how we talk. Okay. Uh, for example, if you say Megha said that she was feeling happy that way, this is what you interpreted, and you are saying this to a third person about Megha. So that is what is happening here, right? So yeah, so this is reported speech. Mm, yeah, that's it. There's something there. Basically, you just add an okay. No mention of when there are anything time mentioned of it, if there anything of dates mentioned like today, that day, today, this evening, and all those stuff, we change it to that day or that evening, and all those stuff happens, right? Except that there's nothing much here. There's absolutely nothing. Uh, and yeah, we also change it to past tense, by the way. Okay. Because obviously we're interpreting something said by someone in the past. So we obviously change the verbs to past tense. Okay. Uh, and about the way about these connecting words, bridges, okay. Uh, we need to be very careful. No, we need to ensure that the connecting word we put there itself conveys the essence of what's there inside the quotation marks sentence. Okay. So Ram to Sita, see Ram to Rita. How happy are you? It's a question. So Ram asked Sita how happy she was. Sorry, Ram asked Rita how happy she was. So with this ask, we can understand he asked the question to her. Okay. So that's how it should be all the time. Okay. I feel content these days, Rita to Ram. I feel content these days after practicing meditation every morning. Okay. So this is a statement which is in response to a question which was asked before by Ram. So we say Rita answered. And then, yeah, same. That's it. So that's how it goes. Mm, yeah, that's it as far as reported speech is concerned. Any question, guys? Very simple. Any
Yeah.
questions, any doubts? All right. Okay. Wonderful. Mm. Okay, let's just take two or three examples and we can move on to the next one. Okay. Rahul said, I am studying for my exams. Uh, what do we do? Very simple. We just put it as we remove the quotation marks and he's it's a statement. He's studying for his exams. Okay. So it's a statement. We don't change anything. We just keep it as Rahul. Is it lagging? Rahul said that he is studying for his exams. Okay, that's it. Um, yeah, that's it. What else is there? We change the present to past. Oh, sorry, it was my bad. Sorry. Uh, we change the present to past tense, and we change the first person to second person. I mean, to third person, and we added that to it. Okay. Uh, yeah, that's it, guys. Any question in this? A thumbs up would do. Hello. Hello. Mm. Hello. Hello. இருக்கீங்களாப்பா? Okay,
Irkonno.
assume. Okay. Maunam Sammadhatthikkartham. Just assume as yes. And I'll move on to the next question. Okay. So yeah, I'll leave you guys with this question as far as reported speech. Okay. Uh, then Anita said I can solve this problem. So here what we do, we first remove the quotation marks, get rid of the quotation marks, and we change the. I can solve this problem. Uh, so we change this present to past, right? So first Anita said that I become she, and then next, very important, can becomes could, or it can be can. Okay. Let's see, that's up for debate. Uh, she could solve this becomes that problem. Okay. Ready? Let's see. Another question for this, Samantha. Yeah, exactly. Apa kata solution? Yeah. Yeah, yes. So, yeah, we just remove the quotation marks first. First process, we remove the quotation marks. Second process, we change all the first person inside the quotation mark to third person. Becomes she or he. This becomes that, and all the stuff. And then all the present tense in the inside the quotation box becomes past tense. Okay, can becomes good, will becomes would, and all those stuff. I mean, not exactly past tense, but you get the point. Okay, so yeah, that's as far as reported speech is concerned. I will be sending all these 25, 50 questions along with the answers, and do check them out. Okay, I am moving on to the next one, if conditions. So what are if conditions? Conditional sentences. So conditional sentences are basically stuff. I mean, see again, as the name suggests, it's just an hypothesis. It's a possibility of there's a possibility of that. We're discussing about the probability that a particular thing could happen. That's what conditional sentences are. Uh, Basically, in a conditional sentence, we have this basic sentence structure, where if plus condition will lead to a result. Okay, so that's the basic sentence structure. Okay, so conditionals are of four types: zero, one, two, four. Yeah, zero, one, zero, first, second, third. Okay, first zero conditions. I mean, it's self-explanatory. Zero conditionals. There's no scope for conditions. So what does it mean? It means it's an actual factual statement which is right there, right? Uh, yeah, it's an actual. Uh, it's a fact. You can't change it, right? Mm, there's no uncertainty allowed in it. Okay, so that's zero condition. And the structure is very simple. We just have simple present along with it. Okay, so I mean they're being both the condition as well as the self will be in simple present. For example, if you take this example, if you mix red and blue, you get purple. Obviously, this is if you mix red and blue, you get purple. It's a fact. Okay, so the conditional is in simple present, and you result is in simple present. Okay, so that's zero condition. First conditional is that there is a possibility that it may actually happen in the future. Okay, uh, there is a possibility that it might happen. Okay, so here what we'll use is um, we add an if plus the condition will be in simple present, whereas the result will be in this format will plus the base verb. Okay. So example, if it rains tomorrow, we will cancel the picnic. Uh, what it does, the rains is in simple present. So if there is a possibility of it raining tomorrow, and if that happens, we will cancel the picnic. So we have the will plus the base verb here. Okay. Again, if you study hard, you will pass the test. There's a possibility of you studying hard, and if that happens, you will pass the test. Okay. So we are the will plus the base verb here. Okay. So next, if I meet her, I will discuss the project. If you happen to meet her, then obviously you will be discussing the project and all those stuff. Okay. Yeah. That's it. And then second condition. Second condition it's that is that case where it, it's very unreal to happen. It's very unlikely to happen. Okay. So what do we do? We the if what the conditional part uses simple past. Uh, that is like how to put in a way which is understandable. Uh, the conditional uses the sentence structure. The fact that mm, the condition would be something which should have already happened for this the result part to happen. Okay. Okay, wait. I'll make sense. I'll make sense. Okay. I'll take this first example. If I add a million, uh, if I add $1 million, I will travel the world. Okay. If I add $1 million, it's a you should have had $1 million in the first place. Only if you have $1 million, you will be traveling all over the place, right? So, which says that it's unlikely. Okay. The result would be if you have something already, you will be doing this particular result right now. So, it's unlikely to happen. It's just a dream. Okay. Um, yeah. So how the form for this will be is we have the condition will be in simple past uh, or past perfect, and then the result will be in would plus the base verb. Okay. So if I add $1 million, it's a past perfect. The result will be in would plus base verb. That's it. Right. If she were taller, she would join the basketball team. If she were taller, which is not possible. Okay. So simple past uh, would first be base verb as easy as that. If we lived in Italy, we would eat pizzas every day. Uh, we lived simple past. Uh, the result is an would plus base verb. Okay, so that's how it goes. Okay. Next, third conditional. Third conditional is something which you express just to use. See, which we use to express a regret. Okay. So what we do is we make both the conditional as well as the result in past. Okay. If that would have happened, I would have done that. No, both of them. I mean, both of them are unlikely to happen. Which I mean, it doesn't happen. But it should have happened. அந்த மாதிரி சொல்றது. Okay. So third condition is used to talk about situations that didn't happen in past and to imagine what could have happened differently. Okay. So what do we do here in the form? We add up. We have a perfect. We in a perfect scenario, everything works. சொல்லுவோம்ல. So in that like that, we put if plus past perfect in the conditional, and in the result we put the would have plus the past participle of that. Okay. Uh, for example, if I add study order, I would have passed the test. You haven't studied harder, you pass it, you have failed the test. So what could have been the ideal scenario? If I add studied harder, uh, so add plus, I mean, with a past perfect, add studied, I would have passed the test. And this is a past participle, would have passed the exam. Okay. Yeah, if she had left earlier, she wouldn't have missed the train. Uh, she left late, and therefore she missed the train. But what could have been the ideal scenario if she had left earlier? Past perfect. She wouldn't have missed the train. Past participle. Sorry, past participle. Okay. So yeah, that's it. That's it. Anything else in there? Yeah. So any doubts in this, guys?
Ilana.
Very simple, Radha. Uh, Here there is no. Actually, there is a possibility for you to get confused between the third conditional and the fourth conditional. So that's why I said. Remember this, okay? I'll just tell you the difference between third and fourth condition. I mean, if you guys want me to solve the examples again, but or else, you can skip this, no issue. Okay, but I will tell you the different way to spot the difference between the third condition and the fourth condition. I will go to the slide itself. Why waste? Uh, sorry, I mean, sorry, I mean second condition and third condition. I'm so sorry. Okay. So yeah, how to differentiate between the second condition and the third condition. So just using the in the exam. Okay. So okay, all these this could happen in the past. I mean, all those stuff. I mean, we can think about it now, but in the exam hall, there's no guarantee that will be able to go through all the stuff. Okay, so just and we need to be able to pick up from the pattern of the sentence. Okay, so what we do is we look at the form of the sentence which is given. You know, uh, first, I mean, all these is a bit confusing. So what we do is in second conditional, uh, one will sound like it's in the past. The conditional will sound like it's in the past. In second conditional, yo, this is too. In second conditional, in second conditional, if will be if and the thing after that will sound like it's in past, but the action after the result will sound like it's in present. If that happens, then that's second conditional. So what do we do? We add the past simple. If the dash is given here, we add a past simple. If the dash is given here, we add a would plus the uh, present tense of the word. Okay. So yeah. And if it's the third condition, what do you do? How does it look like? Okay, please excuse my handwriting. Usually worse, but yeah. uh, in third conditional, both the conditional as well as the result will be in past, like past. Okay. If you add, I mean past perfect, add done this thing, then you could have or would have gotten this thing. Okay. So yeah. So how to decipher between second and third condition? Depending on the status of the second, the result. The result is in present tense, then it's a second conditional. So you just add an would to it. Would plus the present tense of the word given in the brackets. If it's a third conditional, it will be in the past tense. So you would have you add would have plus the thing in the bracket in the past participle form. So that's it. As far this is conditions, guys. Do you guys want me to solve the problems, questions, sentences, statements? I mean, if you want me, na, I can. If you don't want, na, I can move on to the next topic. No issues. Hello, hello. சொல்லுங்கப்பா. At least all these problems. See, why am I saying this problems? I will solve these questions.
Okay, Anna.
Okay, I will just solve one or two. Uh, next first. Uh, if you eat metal, it dash. So you can sense that it's an actual fact. It's going to be a factual means it's going to be a zero conditional. Okay. So what we are going to fill it up with simple present expands. Okay. So this is zero conditional. Let's take one more question before we move on to the next concept. Let's take last one. Okay. The people exercise regularly, they dash healthy. Uh, people exercise. Yeah. So this is in past. No. Why is it in past? No. It's in present. Sorry. So Yeah, so this is an example of the first condition. Because why? Because this is in present and it's in simple present, which means uh, what will be the case here? You add a will and then the same stuff which is given will stay healthy. Okay. Um, so yeah, that's what it is, guys. Did you guys understand? Purinchapa, thumbs up, please, if you guys understood.
புரிஞ்சுதாங்க?
Okay, great. Uh, next, embedded class. There's nothing much in this. Okay. So what is embedded? Embedded is something which you add on as a central project. Okay. A sort of like an extra information. Uh, it adds no structure to the sentence, but it adds context. An embedded clause adds context to a particular sentence. Okay. So that's what the embedded clause is, nothing else. Uh, yeah, we just add two commas before that. In before the sentence and before the phrase and after the phrase. No, not phrase, clause. Before the class and after the class. Okay. So yeah, we do these stuff. Who, whom, or whose denotes the person involved. Which are that denotes the animals and things involved. Where denotes the place. Okay. And we can make an embedded clause without any of these as well. Yeah. What else is there? Okay. Yeah. This is interesting. Identify the difference. In the office where my mother works, office where my mother works, is on the 10th floor. Okay. And second one is the office where my mother works is on the 10th floor. So what is the difference here? The difference here is the first sentence, the clause where my mother works is an extra additional information. It's a it's a merely a clause to provide some extra context which is not actually mandatorily required. No, they just ask for here the where my mother works clause is an additional stuff. It's not really required. You take this off from the sentence, it will still make it will still convey the necessary information required. Uh, Whereas for the second case, the this clause is actually important. Where like when what happens, this will be the reply when someone has actually asked where your mother's office is. Uh, so that's when you say that's when you use this type of sentence here because this particular clause actually adds something. Uh, this clause actually required for you to convey the necessary information. So that's the difference between the one with embedded clause and one without the embedded clause. Okay. Mm, yeah. So what else? Yeah, guys. Mm, actually, ma'am itself has given enough questions. Mm, okay, actually, no. Let's just do these. Okay. My flask is down, broken. It's already first one. My husband answered clearly. Okay, sorry. Yeah. The flower looks very beautiful. And in the bracket, bright. So what we do, this bright, we can obviously understand that this bright and red signifies the flower here. So what we do, we just put a bracket, see, so we just put a comma here and add this bright and here. Manage to add this clause here. So what we do, the flower which is bright and red, very nice and okay, bright and red looks very beautiful. அவ்வளவுதான். That's it. Nothing else. Very simple. Okay. And that's it. Yeah. Eighth question. The company fired its CEOs and profits dropped by 50%. Ah, okay. So here the company fired its CEO when profits dropped by 50%. Okay. So actually, why is this miraculous? This thing actually adds context to the sentence. I don't know. Okay, but just know the format. Okay, we just uh, the reason for the company hiring CEO is this sentence right here. So you just manage. You can just add it here somehow. Okay, the company. The company when profits dropped by 50%, fired its CEO. That's it. Is it right answer? Right. And, here. Oh, oh, sorry, pa. It's supposed to be whose. Yeah. See, why did I think of it as when company is an entity which is made up of people, which is a plural living thing. Okay, so it's whose. The company whose profits drop by 50%. I see you. So yeah, that's it. And what else is there here? And that's it. We have come to the last part of the grammar stuff, I hope. And that's verbal analogies. And there's actually nothing here. You know, we are basically given this one colon proving a relationship between two stuff. And it has to elucidate the same set of relationship between third and fourth word. That's it. Uh, for example, cat meow, dog what. So what does the relationship between these two elucidate? It elucidates that it's a sound made by the animal is on the right. So if a dog, let's see, if a cat sound is meow, and dog sound is woof. That's it. Okay. Oh, bow, sorry. Same stuff. Okay. Yeah. Just like we just have to figure out the relationship between the two words. It's in the same kind of relationship as the first and second word. Okay. Um, First and second word kulla irukka relationship. Uh, you should base it on that, and then provide the same relationship on the third and fourth. Okay. So that's as far as the verbal analogies are concerned. Uh, yeah, stuff like advanced approach, advanced approach, retrieve dash. Uh, this signify the relationship between these two is synonymous. Advanced means approach. What does retrieve means? Retrieve means reverse. Uh, that's as far as the thing goes. What else? Yeah, that's it. What else? And I don't know. That's it. There's actually nothing else. You just need to have a good sense of words. Like for example, this phobias and all. I know height acrophobia, height acrophobia. Um, you just need to have a sense of all that. Just go through a few stuff. Claustrophobia means fear of tight spaces. Aerophobia, no, fear of wind. I guess I don't know. This is such in my own idea. Okay, but just go through his phobias because these are the only places where they can actually make you mess up. Otherwise, there's nowhere going wrong with the verbal analogy stuff. Okay. And yeah, what else? அவ்வளவுதான்ப்பா. Yeah, that's it. Have I left out anything? Did I leave anything, guys? Hello, hello. அட, ம், இருக்கீங்களாப்பா? I think so. That's that. Then, guys. So yeah. Mm, oh, 2 பேர் தான் இருக்கீங்க. 3 பேர் தான் இருக்கீங்க. Okay. Okay, now issues. I understand that English is pretty easy. But yeah, just make sure you get as many marks as possible. Because this is the last time you can actually score stuff. Okay. I'm just telling. So try to get home as much as you can. Be your best of your abilities. And please share this. Uh, I'll be uploading the session in a very short way. So please ask your friends who are not good at English to actually go through the session. This will actually be useful for them. And Angelin gave a very good explanation for all the formats. So I hope you guys understood. And yeah, what else? Angelin, do you have anything to say? Hello.
Yes, Anna.
Yeah, do you have anything to say?
எனக்கு டவுட் இல்ல.
Yeah, okay, yeah. அப்பனா fine, guys. Do you two any have any doubts? I think Nagadarshan is on hold. Hello. Okay. Yeah, Irish, do you have any doubts?
Nope.
Okay, great.
Thank you for the session.
Yeah, no, no mention. Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
No, I
guys.
mean
All
சிக்கா
the best to
இருந்தீங்கன்னு வேற சொன்னீங்கல்ல. ஸோ அது தவிர்த்தும் செஷன் எடுத்து yeah, that's nice of you. Thank you.
no issues, no mention. And yeah, do your exams. Do your exam tomorrow's exam will.
Yep,
Yeah.
will do.
um, okay. All the best, guys. I will see
Thank
you in
you.
another session. And thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, Anna.